Right. Recording on Zencaster. Oh, restarting? What? Oh. Rude. Hold on. My thing is reloading. Okay. And I have to run health checks. Everything's going great over here so far. Okay, great. I'm ready. I am recording on Zencaster. Great. You ready to get started?
Yeah, go ahead.
Excellent. Okay. So we're rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Hi! I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky.
Fantastic. I have physical stuck in my head, so there's lots of dancing happening. Sorry. Actually, not sorry. There's always dancing in my head. All right. So Ford and Sky are not our real names. Those are our superhero names. I'm a private person. So, superhero names. So with our powers combined, we form the writing partnership of L. Skyford. And welcome to Booklandia. Okay. Here at Booklandia, we geek out about literary topics. We're going to talk about what we're reading next, what's like just book stuff. We're going to talk old school classics, tropes, character types, things we love, things we loathe, but mostly you're coming here for book reviews. And specifically, primarily romance book reviews. We are not going to like summarize the book plot point by plot point. We're going to hit the highlights, things we liked, things we didn't like. We are not a Spark Notes podcast, if you will. Don't come at me, Spark Notes.
Shout out to Spark Notes for those
Shout
who
out
use
to
them.
Yes. You have your own niche. We're going to stay out of your lane. Yeah, so welcome.
This and every episode are going to be chock full of oversharing and spoilers. Today we're talking about How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. But first, let's check in.
Oh, man.
How are you?
Well, I had a weird dream last night, which I sort of told you about offline, but I slept. So that's a good thing. Also, sometime in the night, so I took a muscle relaxer before bed because I grind my teeth. And then I also put in my mouth guard because I'm sexy as hell. Sometime in the night, in the middle of sleeping, I took my mouth guard out and put it on my phone. Like I have no recollection, no memory of removing this mouth guard. So, I don't know. The sleepwalking hasn't returned, but the sleep moving is still a thing.
I'm glad you're not sleepwalking since that's dangerous.
Yes. But I've also only ever done it in hotel rooms, which is equally dangerous.
Yes. That's why they have that interior extra lock that you can engage when you're in the hotel room.
It's also why I never sleep naked in a hotel room anymore.
Pro tip, if you're sleepwalking, don't sleep naked in a hotel room. Yeah. That sounds like a plot point. Like an excellent starting plot point of a story.
Mm-hmm. That could be a meet cute. That could be a funny, sexy meet cute.
Yes, it absolutely could. Write it down. Yeah, go for it. It's a good one.
I don't think I'm writing it down right now. All right. Walking me. This is great radio, by the way.
Yes,
or podcast.
me watching you write something down with no audio is exactly
Right.
what we need. Precisely.
Wait, I got some more.
Oh, there you go.
There we
There's
go.
a perfect. Now there's some foley.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, with the talking.
Here we go. I don't know if you can hear this one.
There's a little bit of pen scratching. It's totally fine.
Okay.
It's totally great.
Great. I know how to do Foley. It's cool.
Nice. Perfect.
How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. So, it just so happens that this book we're talking about and the next book that we've already finished reading both have to do with the patriarchy, with like men in our lives not being the best they can be. And I'm not saying that that all. I want to make it very clear. Not all men in my life are like this, but having not experienced the patriarchy smashing me for a while, this happened yesterday, and I was like, on what planet am I? Like, why is this a planet with this much negativity in one text message? It was a bunch emotionally. I was underprepared. Sure. I had to go outside and primal scream about it. And
you did a primal scream?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like it's slightly less effective because I was wearing a mask, so it felt a little trapped. But nonetheless, very powerful. It's out there in the universe and it's out of me. And that is exactly the way that I deal with things I cannot change immediately.
I have become very pro primal scream. I did it on New Year's at midnight, and it was the best. And that was the first time I did it. And honestly, like, I was afraid of scaring other people, but it's not for other people. It's for me. So it's a private thing that other people just get to deal with.
Yes, that
and
too.
A primal scream is a different tone than "I'm in danger, come help me" scream.
Oh, most
and I hope
definitely.
That is clear to people. Yeah.
I did walk away from my immediate neighbors so that they would not come running because they would.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm doing.
Yeah.
One primal scream past hating the patriarchy. That's where I'm at today.
Great. So smashing the patriarchy, still a good thing. But what if we smashed eyebrow raises the patriarchy? Like, you know how smashing being a euphemism for
I'm
sex.
Familiar. Yes, I am familiar.
Look, I'm working on it. This is a joke in progress.
All right, carry on. Draft A.
All right.
I mean, I would say if you can sex your way through people's terrible beliefs about women and gender altogether, like if you're gonna change minds by smashing, do you, boo. Be safe.
Yeah. Also, that feels like a superpower.
Yes, I believe there is a superhero out there. I think there's a comic about people who have superpowers when they have sex. We were talking about this the other night. It is sex criminals, and they stop time when they have sex and they become bank robbers. That's all I know. I haven't read it yet. I feel like I really need to read that, but I also feel like that might be the punchline to your joke right there. Someone got there.
Well, it reminds me of the character from American Gods, the goddess of sex. I can only remember the orgy scene from the show. But she gained power from having sex with other people.
She does. She's a succubus, and in the book, I don't think in the book there is no orgy. She's just the very beginning. And like she eats a man with her labia. And it's fantastic. He literally gets eaten by her vagina. For those of you who are now scared, American Gods has a bunch in it, and
got a bunch.
It's got a bunch, and it starts with a bang, and she's the bang it starts with. Should we segue from American Gods
please.
to How to Fail at Flirting, which I am
From
waving
one end of the spectrum to the other.
To the other, yes, kind of, sort of. Okay, so this, I'm waving the actual physical book around. You were so kind to actually give me this copy, physical copy to read through, and then I very rudely went through and pencil notated throughout the book. So we can have an entire discussion at a different time as to how we feel about writing inside books.
Yeah, I'll put it on the list.
There you go. And then it's in pencil, so feel free to tell me to erase all my notes. I will happily transfer them to sticky notes.
I don't feel precious about that. It's totally fine. It's all good.
Great. So let's talk about this book. So
let's do.
You can buy it everywhere where books are sold, both physical copies and digital ones. And I'm immediately gonna sidetrack us into the fact that you should also follow Denise Williams on social media. On her Instagram account, she had this adorable picture of herself wearing a custom-made face mask that says, "Ask me about my debut novel," and it had a picture of How to Fail at Flirting. And apparently she went to her local Target to try and find it on the shelf because she hasn't been able to go into an indie bookstore to see it physically on the shelf, and she really wanted a picture of herself with her first novel, but she couldn't find the book department at Target, so she had to ask a Target employee wearing this mask where to find this book, and this person did not connect the dots that this person with a mask that says, "This is my debut novel," was looking for this very, like, this it would appear as though this Target employee was really oblivious to what was happening, was just not paying attention to what was on the mask. But she does have a picture of herself standing next to her actual book, and the level of joy that picture exuded was just, I was like, this is an amazing story. So plug for Denise Williams's spirit.
It makes me wonder about authors when they find their books out in the wild, if they just sign them. Like, on the sly.
Neil Gaiman does it, running us all the way back to American Gods.
Everything comes back to Neil Gaiman.
I mean, it kind of does. He posts it on his social he used to, when he would be in an airport on a layover and he would have time to kill. He would go into whatever bookstore, find his books and sign them. So some of them do.
Super cool.
I feel like maybe it's also not a thing you're supposed to be doing, because I think it elevates the value of the book. So I'm not sure you're supposed to be signing your books on the DL. But yeah, it was just like, she just had such genuine joy about this that it was just like, yay! Yes, I didn't have proper words for it because it made me a little teary-eyed. So the book came out on December 1st of 2021, one of the last book birthdays of last year.
2020.
Oh, 2020. Sorry. Not Hello.
We haven't gotten to December 1st
yet. I know. I'm already there. I'm already like, let's do that. 2020. Yes, December of 2020. It is not a series. It's a standalone book, and it is her debut, and it is a phenomenal debut.
I also have to say about Denise, I get her newsletter, and her newsletter coming right before this came out was adorable. She had a puzzle made, a virtual puzzle. So I did the virtual puzzle of the book cover. Like, she had cocktails, she had book club questions. We should have looked at those maybe. At any rate, she has very cute content. Sign up for her newsletter.
All right. Do you want to elevator pitch, or so I wrote this elevator pitch, and so I don't know if you want to read it.
So, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's terrible radio. All right. Naya's friends, with the best of intentions, want to push her out of a 3-year dating rut by having her check experiences off a list. When in a twist of fate, she ends up alone in a bar without her friends, but with the list, a hot, nice, nerdy Jake beside her, she decides to give it her best. What starts as a challenge for personal growth turns into a multi-city forbidden romance that could jeopardize her career. Will Naya confront the demons of her past and trust Jake, or will she walk away to face herself the heartache? What does that mean?
to save herself the heartache.
Oh,
I just noticed
great.
4 typos in that. I'm so sorry.
I really performed over those typos. I think you'll notice. I really delivered.
I appreciated that, except for the very end where I simply switched words. Yes, to save herself the heartache is what it's supposed to say.
Fantastic.
So,
what's your hot take on this book?
Okay, my hot take on this book is it is so much deeper than what the cover leads you to believe, and it is so much more significant than a rom-com. What is your hot take?
Yes. Can you pull up that cover? Do you have the
yes,
do you have the powers?
Yes, it helps when I'm over here for it. Here you go. Here's
Because
the cover.
I have feelings about this cover, and I'm gonna segue us into this.
Please go ahead.
She's a college professor. The female character in this book has a backpack, and that says college student. And that makes me very mad. I know everyone can carry a backpack, but like the elbow patches on her sweater, which we were talking about earlier being collegiate costume, the backpack makes me think this is a college student, not a college professor. Also, she doesn't wear glasses. Why is she holding glasses? Also, she was at the bar first and he came up to her. Why is she like it's a great cute cover, but it is not the scene in the book. So my OCD brain is like, nah.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree that this cover is misleading to the content of the book. Yes.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. My hot take is
yes, please. Hot take.
Yes, this book gave me all the cute smiles. Like I was reading it and I like stone cold face on the outside, like cute warm sunshine smiles on the inside. And then I very much liked how Naya dealt with her trauma. That felt very relatable to me. And I'm happy to get into that. But that is my hot take.
So before we get much further, I feel like we should do a content warning for people that need this content warning. There is physical and sexual abuse in this book, and there is gaslighting and control issues. So those are the big ones I feel like that really need to be content warned, to the point where I actually wondered if that she has an afterword in the book that gives you the contact information for the domestic violence hotline, and I wonder if that shouldn't have been at the front instead. But so that's content warning. We're going to talk about people overcoming abusive relationships, so if that triggers you, please know that we don't mean to offend you or trigger you.
No, we love you, and please find support. Please talk to people and find support.
Yes. All right, so this is so the genre for this is contemporary romance, officially, technically.
Officially.
Though I do feel like it's so. I mean, that's where it's going to get shelved. But I feel like it's so much more than that. This book is so much more than that. So our main characters are Jake and Naya. Naya is a professor in the education department who educates math teachers for middle school and high school. And massive shout out for educators who educate educators, because that's a lot.
It's a lot. Her specialty is she's studying how to teach math to middle school students whose English is their second language.
Using gamification, which is a very real subject of study right now in the education.
I mean, your children are being taught
Oh,
through
yes.
gamification.
Oh, my children are reading so much faster than they should be considering their age group because of gamification. So I'm all for her research, even though it's fictional research. I'm like, this
You're right.
research is amazing. I'm into it. I want to read the findings of this research. Jake is a consultant and a hot nerd is what I wrote. He's a consultant that
Very hot nerd.
helps universities
I think businesses
become more financially viable. It seems like a very narrow field, but maybe it is, and there are a lot of universities in this country.
Yeah, I think his company does like helps with restructurings and efficiencies and efficiency audits and things like that.
That sounds accurate. The other characters that to bring up, Davis is the ex that Naya is dealing with, and his name and his actions come up a lot. My tag for him was the ultimate bad guy, because truly he is the bad guy. And then the rest of the names matter, and I feel like we will bring them up, but all of the best friends. And there are so many supporting characters in this, and they are so lovely and so solid and so great and so three-dimensional. And when we get further in...
So sorry. I turned it to do not disturb, and apparently alarms disturb. How rude.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not know that either. So we're going to talk about, well, at least I intend to talk about best friends, because I have a lot of feelings about how these people were written by comparison to other people. But for now, it's just BFFs. Lots of BFFs.
Yeah. Just so you know, I don't remember any of their names, so that's all on you.
I remember a couple of their names, because those are the people I want to talk about, and I took notes.
Excellent.
I took notes about their names.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Excellent. Yeah, so main story, we talked about the blurb, how they meet based off of how Naya has a daring checklist, and Jake helps her out with that. But then his consulting company is the company that is reviewing the college. So he kind of has sway over whether or not she keeps her job. So she's trying to keep her distance from him and keep it professional. But girl, she can't.
Part of the reason that she's so hesitant to have a workplace romance, even though they're not necessarily frowned upon, and if the two of them disclose their connection to each other, it might all be on the up and ups, but she's so concerned about a workplace romance because her previous experience, her ex, was a workplace romance, and when they broke up, he ruined her reputation by telling everyone that she was promiscuous, and in this university setting, for reasons that really frustrate me, being promiscuous is something that a college professor cannot do.
They do go through, like, she does disclose their relationship to her direct supervisor, but doesn't get the chance to do it to the college president, who is, a part of the audit, who called for the audit. So it gets a little bit tangled web. Also, Davis is around, even though he doesn't even work at that university. He's part of this audit too. I got very confused about why he was around, and so he starts manipulating her again, and so she's having to fight all those old feelings, all that old trauma, and keep moving forward. But like he just keeps pulling her back into that trauma state.
So I think he's there because he works for the state. And so if a university is being restructured, then the state education board is involved. I say...
See, that was not clear, because she like
state.
looks up... Oh, see, she looks up that he got passed over for a promotion at the state university. And so I was like, what's he doing now? Still at that state university? Why is he over here at this private university?
Right. Or yeah, maybe
So,
he's just brought in as an outside consultant. Despite uh going to and working for universities, I am not aware how
mhm.
structuring a university works because that's not my
Sure.
job.
Right.
So there's probably a reason, but the point
Sure.
is that Davis has career power over her. He also has
Mhm.
incriminating photos of her that he threatens to
Yeah.
expose, and he gaslit and emotionally abused her for 3 years. So he holds power over her, really significant power. So
And yeah, and physically abused her. She talks about the bruises that he
yeah,
would leave on her arms. Um, yeah, I that part was done so well. So I have been through that. My high school relationship was abusive emotionally, psychologically, physically. And that the way she describes the moments, like worrying if the text message that just dinged on her phone was him, like that was so right. Because I have that same reaction anytime I see the car that guy drove. I have like I just kind of go back to that for a flash. And I got to escape it. I'm states away. She's in this same like conference rooms with this douchebag. So like that's a 100 for me. Denise Williams knocked that out of the ballpark. How those moments feel viscerally and how she fought him and how she moved past him. I thought was really great.
I agree. Having not gone through an abusive relationship like that, so we can get into it now or after the break. But one of the things that I was going to talk about is the beginning of this book was hard for me to get through because Naya felt like a really weak character, and I couldn't understand why
Mhm.
she couldn't move past this like stuck block that she was in. And because this
Yeah.
is not a personal experience to me, it did not. Sorry, before we get there, I'm gonna ask a personal question because I genuinely don't know
Sure.
what they're like. Isn't I'm
We have
sorry.
safe words.
Right, that's true. Like, but when you disclose something like that, about what happened to you in the past, do
Sure.
like I'm sorry. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Like genuinely, I'm so
Thank you.
glad you're here.
Thank you.
But like,
I am as well.
what is the response that doesn't sound like I'm being a dick?
I'm sorry works. I mean, sympathy or empathy of any kind is feels appropriate. A human connection, it feels appropriate. I definitely talked to somebody about like I went through a lot of well, not a lot. I went through some counseling. Like I got help and I worked to move past it. And I did like a 10-minute auto drama about it in college. And everybody was in tears. And it was, it was a lot. So, like, I've processed it, but it's something that's a part of you. Like, you don't get to put that away. So, I appreciate your sympathy and everyone's sympathy, but um, it's it's not something that hurts anymore. You know? It's like a broken bone, right? When it heals, it's harder there. That bone is stronger at the point of the break. So I'm stronger at the point of that break. And I wouldn't wish that on my younger self, but now I know how strong I can be. So I appreciate your I'm sorry. I don't have a better answer for you. It's fine for me because I also know you and I know that your I'm sorry means a thousand other things.
Okay. I didn't want to blow past that. And I was like,
No,
there's an
yeah,
emotional
not at all.
moment that I'm participating in here internally, but I should vocalize it as well for
Yeah.
you.
I
Um,
I appreciate you expanding that moment. I'm comfortable talking about it. I can talk about it for a very long time because I've processed for the most part, except for when I see those cars.
Well, hopefully they'll be off the road really soon and like in their
I know.
entirety,
I know.
and then you don't have to worry about
So
that at
much.
all.
It was so long ago at this point. They better be. Ugh. Stop making that color at any rate.
There you go. Stop making that color. So going back to what I was saying about Naya, in the beginning of the book, I had a really hard time connecting with her because she felt like a very weak character to me. And it was hard for me to be like, you're a successful college, like just she's clearly really intelligent. She has a PhD. She literally shapes other people's minds. So it was hard for me to believe in her inability to function. But the more I read into the book and the more the book explored how abused she is, how beat down she is in this moment at the beginning of the book, the more I began to appreciate the state of mind that was being portrayed for us. And if you read my review of it on Goodreads and social, I apologize to Naya because I discounted her as such a weak character in the beginning. And then I absolutely owe her an apology for not giving her the time and the space to tell me her story. And I'm really glad that I kept reading and got past that initial bit. And I think Jake's arrival is in just the right part of the book, because right as I was about to give up on it, Jake becomes such an interesting part of it. And then her growth and her discovery is weaved in such a great way that by the time we got back to the gaslighting and the abusive relationship conversation, I absolutely believed her. So I suffer from bystander disbelief.
Sure.
And I'm very glad to have pushed past it, but I absolutely had it. I absolutely did. I was like, no intelligent, strong, powerful woman is like this. And I'm wrong. I'm just wrong. And so I'm so glad that it gets told.
I very much like how Jake supported her, but didn't, like, he tried to take things from her. He tried to fight for her, and she's like, no, I want to fight for myself. Just support me, be in my corner. And like, he took that note very well. I liked that sort of like, I have to help you. I have to be this alpha male and blah de blah, jump in at fights or whatever. And she's like, nah, I got it. And he's like, okay, I trust you. It's cool. I just gotta make an adjustment in my head, and and then you got this.
I want to talk about Jake a lot. I want to get through the rest of our like hot take list, and then we can dive into Jake after the break. So tropes in this book, for me, actually not that many tropes, which is another reason why I think this belongs in literary and not in romance. But yeah, I know. I think this book got misrepresented, and I want it to be elevated and also taught to women everywhere. But so workplace romance. Come on. This like it tells you the story of how to leave an abusive relationship from the inside. And it tells you how to also form really healthy other relationships. And I was saving this for after the break, but one of the greatest parts of this book for me is that just because this one asshole exists, it doesn't mean that all men in this book, in fact, he is the only terrible man in this book. All the other men in this book, maybe sometimes misguided, but are good at their core. And one of the things that I find sometimes in books, in fact, in other books that we've read really recently, is that if a woman has been gaslit or abused, the mental processes that are on the page are about how all men are the worst in the universe. And what this book does so well that I have not seen in other books is it points out that this one person is a terrible person, but that the world is full of not terrible people. And I absolutely love that about not judging all the books by this one cover.
It was what it also so well doesn't do is it doesn't set Jacob as the savior character. Like she came out of like, and now he's saving her, which is the other way that could go.
Agreed. Yes. The men in this book are written so well. And they're I mean, I have one note that I'm like, oh, okay, again, I'm gonna put a pin in it. We're gonna finish this list. We're gonna get to this break. Okay. I promise.
I'm also writing down a note about the men. Okay, we'll come back to it. Okay,
so it's a forbidden workplace romance, and and I have one note, and that and this, I don't know if this is a trope or not, but it comes up a lot. That their sexual chemistry and their emotional connection is the kind that, like, it has never been this good.
Right.
And that I read that a lot in romance books, that I've never felt this way before feeling. And Jake says it to her, that, like, he doesn't think that he loved his ex-wife because it never felt this good. So to me, that's kind of a trope, because it happens so frequently in romance novels. And then the last thing, again, maybe not a trope, but happens frequently, wise and kind best friends.
Sure. I added to hot nerd. I'm a sucker for a hot nerd. Yeah. I love a hot nerd. Just give me all the nerderies. I'm into it. And then also, he's a twin.
He's a twin, yeah. Which has been a thing a bunch recently. There's been a bunch of they're a twin.
I would like to see the scientific studies about how many characters in romance novels are twins versus actual real life data, because I feel like it's a lot.
There are a lot of twins. At least it's not like a secret twin or something. But he is a twin, and that is lovely.
I love that you're spell checking my notes.
I am, yes. I'm also spell checking my notes. So this should tell you how much I looked at this. Also, it, for whatever reason, didn't take my spell check. Huh. It corrected back to yours. So there we go. In my miscellaneous, did we love or hate the tropes? Did you love or hate these tropes?
I love a hot nerd. I've said it. The rest are fine. Like a forbidden workplace romance, I don't hate. I'm really tired of friends to enemies, or enemies to lovers. I can't anymore with that. But yeah, I like these tropes. Yeah,
excellent. Yeah, I did not feel like they were extremely tropey, and they felt really appropriate, and their workplace romance was dealt with like adults deal with it, by talking to their superiors and by being open about it. So it did not feel like a trope a lot of the time, and that was great. It wasn't very over the top.
I felt this was a book where I don't think people could say, if they just had one good conversation, everything would be fixed. I think she did that. They had conversations ongoing.
Yes, they did. It was very communicative until the breakup moment, and then their communication broke down. But even coming out of that, they still had conversation like adults would have conversation. They did not behave like immature children, except for like 1 or 2 weak moments of hating his ex-wife on social media.
Okay, miscellaneous thoughts. Grab bag.
I think that was my miscellaneous thought. So my miscellaneous thought was that I love that all the other men were really quality people, and that this book did not bash all male kind. It pointed out this one extremely flawed individual that needed to be dealt with, but there are so many other supporting men and supporting women as well in her life, but supporting women are a frequent occurrence, whereas supporting men are not. I loved Wes. And the fact Wes is the personal trainer. Wes is the personal
Oh,
trainer.
yes.
And then
Yes,
when
yes,
she
yes.
meets him and her best friend is like, he's super cute, but he's not single. And Wes gets really flustered because he's about to propose to his girlfriend, and they immediately become friends with him and support him. And it's not some weird, like, every hot guy is only either a partner or not a partner, right? Like there's so much room for men as friends, and there is and it's not a weirdness to be friends with everyone as opposed to just women or just men or just people in your own corner. So I love that. I like the moment Wes blushes about his soon-to-be fiance. I was like, yes, please, to this adorable character.
Now she's also friends. So the personal trainer, Wes is the personal trainer of her other friend who is also married. And Naya used to date or briefly dated that guy. Aaron, thank you, Aaron. And then Aaron was like, oops, whoops, I really want to date your friend. And they got married.
Yes. And she is totally she's friends with both the wife and the husband. And the other thing that I absolutely loved is that there are times when she tells things and hangs out with the wife, and sometimes she hangs out with the husband, and there's no weirdness about that, and it's absolutely real and absolutely the way I am with my friends. There are times when I want to hang out with just one of them because of the energy in the room and the thing. And sometimes I want to hang out with both of them. And like their past just makes their bond stronger. And yeah, there's no, it is great to see good relationships in books. And this book did it so very well. And then we haven't talked about Jake's best friend, Tyson, who is getting married to Eric. And not only does he have not only does this white main character has a black best friend, and that's not something that is made a huge deal out of at all.
Yeah, not at all.
Except we do get into race relations at one point, and he does point out the fact that he has not noticed people being disrespectful to his best friend for a while. So he does acknowledge that there is a race disparity between him and his best friend. And then his best friend is gay, and his best friend is marrying this man named Eric. And we get to meet Eric and love Eric for his own stuff, and he's also very protective of Jake. So there's these like male best friends who then
who are
loving, who are affectionate, who hug each other, and it's not a weird thing. Like emotionally available men in this book made me so happy to have read this book, is where I'm at.
I would say we did not put that on the tropes list. A gay best friend.
Gay best friend.
Yes. Gay best friend. It's everywhere. The only miscellaneous thought that we haven't touched on of mine is that Naya makes lists. I'm a list maker. I got a new journal this year. Look at all these lists. It's fantastic. So I love a lister. I relate to a lister. The trope of a competitive list, I feel like making a list is one of those. I like that kind of person. That's how I was immediately hooked in. I was like, tell me about your lists.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Should we take a break here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so we're going to take an intermission. When we come back, we're going to break down our favorite moment from the book, discuss the sexy parts, the sexy times of the book, did it make us want to get naked, and our final ratings of hotness and overall star ratings. Now, word from 6-5 Media, our podcasting family, and we'll see you back here in a few. Hello, 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 hello. We are back.
And we're back.
Uh, and we're back. All right, we are talking about How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. I did forget I wanted to talk about Flip, who is the president of the school, and that really like healthy conversation he has at the end of the book about Naya like not disclosing her relationship to him, and like I wish I knew, but I also wish I knew about shitty what's his name, Davis, and like that healthy relationship. And it was also, he's also black, and like it just like how great, or at least I pictured him black.
Sorry, I was genuinely thinking to the fact that I don't know, that I did not catch that description, but I also love that that is part of it, and I simply missed it. I loved his story about how he became Flip, and I loved how supportive he was, and that he apologized for not hearing all of the times in meetings when her ideas were taken and presented as men's idea, other men's ideas. So I very much appreciated that character. I thought, again, a great representation of an emotionally available and smart man who hears when they listen. Right. So I was a big fan of Flip as well, but that I didn't make a connection there.
In my head, he was an Ibram X. Kendi, like he had some dreads, some short dreads, and like very collegiate sort of vibe.
That's awesome. In my head, he was like a super elderly but spry gentleman who like pours himself a coffee and then decides that he doesn't need the caffeine and pours it out again.
Sure.
But either way, a little bit. But it was also break room coffee, so not great.
Okay, basically garbage.
Exactly. So he was lovely. I liked him very much. I absolutely agree. It was fantastic to have yet another representation of a man who's able to self-correct, who's able to hear and to take a note and self-correct. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So what was the most compelling moment of the book for you?
It's hard for me to pick one. Like, again, how she handled and wrote the trauma was the most relatable for me. But I would have to say, like, the climax moment when Davis attacks Naya, that fear and how she wrote the aftermath of that, and how Naya's mental state in that aftermath, and then how this other professor like comes up to her and says like Davis was doing the same shit to me. Like it was all so healthy and so accurate. Like I can't pick just one moment, but like I remember the attack very, very detailed. So that's probably the most striking moment, I should say. How about you?
I have to agree in that I could not pick one moment that really stood out to me in the entire book. I also agree that the attack is really visceral and really well written and made me scare for her. So the tension in that moment is written very well. And I absolutely wanted someone to hear her screaming, and they do, but like that the tension is elevated really well in that moment. On a lighter note, I think one of my favorite adorable moments, sorry, I'm just gonna swerve us out of the conversation, into like the fun bits, which we haven't really talked about the fun bits, and there are so many fun bits in this book as well. My favorite fun bit, I think, is them on the Ferris wheel and him freaking out because he hates heights and asking her to distract him. And then he asks her how long it's been since she's had sex. And she says 3 years, and he forgets to be scared about heights because he's so confused how a person could go 3 years without having sex and not just be exploding. In fact, I think he even says that, are you ready to explode because it's been so long? And I thought that moment was so like spontaneously funny that stands out to me. Also, I love that he does all of these things that he's uncomfortable with for the purposes of capturing her attention.
Yeah, spending time with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does
And
this
like
book
their spontaneous date where they end up like at the top of a tower in one of those
yes, in a tilting room.
Yeah. Oh, that would freak. I would do it, but it would freak me out. I don't have a heights thing, but I have a falling to my death thing. Self-preservation.
Yes, but they're a little bit drunk, they're a little bit impaired in their decision making when they do that. So
That's
props
very
to
true.
both of them for not hurling when they are already spinning and then they get tipped forward.
Yeah.
But it did make me want to go to that place. So does this book make you want to get naked?
Yes. Those aren't the scenes I remember from the book. So I don't remember how hot and bothered they may or may not have made me. Jake is definitely spank bank fodder for me. I love a hot muscly nerd, but I don't remember any of the sex scenes. There I think maybe there's one in her bedroom. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's hot." But like it's not memorably so.
I said I do want to get naked, but to cuddle. Because I agree, this didn't necessarily make me want to pause the TV show and like find an
Hop
excuse
on.
to make. Yeah, but it did make me want to snuggle up to my person and be like be very emotionally and physically connected to that person. So it achieved like cute goals rather than hot and bothered goals. I did give it a 4-star flame rating because there are so many, well, not so many, that sounds weird.
Right.
There are several sex scenes. They are not as explicit as others are. There is definitely some explicit things. There's definitely a conversation about the fact that he's the first man to make her orgasm. That's something that she's always done on her own. I feel like that's possibly a trope too. That happens a lot. Like this is the first person that takes the time to listen to her body. And I mean, overall, I gave it 4 stars, but the more I talk about it and the more I want everyone else to read it, I might actually bump it up into the land of 5 stars where books live only when I can. And it's because I remember all of the character names and I remember that visceral reaction to this book that I had when I read it, that it feels like this should be in that ballpark. But yes, from like I wrote Vaseline on the lens, meaning that it's a little bit fuzzy on the sex details. But I do remember the sex scene in their bedroom does talk about at length about her being on top, and the multiple orgasms that she experiences are written into the text and aren't just like, and then we had 3 orgasms. Like it isn't actually Vaseline on the lens. It just wasn't the most memorable part for me, but they are explicit sex scenes, yes.
I too gave it 4 flames. I feel like I think the multiple orgasms per session. I can't remember if there's like 3 sex moments or more. But yes, it goes a little bit above and beyond. You're very right at the Vaseline. You're not getting like where hands and mouths are blocking, but you're getting the gist, if you will. And then I also gave it 4 stars overall. I don't know if I'll kick it into 5 just because I read the book 2 weeks ago and I now only vaguely remember bits. So this is how I decide if I like things or not, is how much I remember it. And if I if I remember liking it when I did the thing. So I like it. It's going to get 4 stars. Can I tell you every single person? No. But it did it for me. 4 stars is above average on my scale. So Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to recall the sex episodes to figure out how
Mm-hmm.
many. And so there's the first one in the hotel room, which doesn't go as planned. There
Mm-hmm.
is the second one in the hotel room that does go as planned. There is the
Mm-hmm.
one in his lake house when he sets her on a dresser.
Oh
Um
yeah.
and there's the one in her bedroom. So there's at least
Mm-hmm.
3.
Yeah.
Um so and then there's the hotel room where they where they don't end up doing anything other than not watch Star Wars.
Oh right. Yes.
Yes.
Falling
So
asleep.
yes,
Yeah.
falling asleep. So there's at least 3 solid multi-page sex
Which is
scenes.
standard average, I think, for romance
Yeah,
books.
average romance landia adventure. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that was How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. Are you cool to wrap up,
Absolutely,
Sky?
yes. I mean, yeah, I can talk about this book for a while longer. I feel like it really resonated, but
Yeah.
absolutely, other people should talk now. Yes.
Great. Oh. So please talk. Please talk to us about if you liked it, if you did not like it, if you're gonna go buy it. We want to know all the things. Cool. If you have a suggestion for a book to review, come over to our socials. We're gonna put those at the end of the episode. Fantastic. All right. So what are you reading next? What's next up for you, Sky?
So I'm probably going to read Big Bad Wolf. I am partially through From Blood and Ash, which got a massive number of very positive romance reviews last year. So
So
I feel
Big Bad Wolf is by Salika Snyder, and Blood and Ash is by Jennifer
from
Armentrout.
Blood and
From
Ash
Blood and Ash. Got it.
is
Jim.
Jennifer Armentrout, and there's a second that's out already. A third one is on the way. These are giant world building 600 pagers, so I haven't really had time for it. And I'm making time for it right now, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be worth the time to find out when I talk about it at some point, because chances are I'm going to talk about it. I'm taking notes
Yeah.
already. There's already
Great.
notes.
Great.
Yes. What are you reading?
So I know you just finished this, but I am this far through Shipped by Angie Hockman. This book comes out January 19th, 2021. So this is an enemies to lovers, workplace enemies to lovers, but set in the Galapagos Islands. So it has a cute backdrop. There are turtles. I have to read Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I've been wanting to read this book for like 6 months. So this is maybe my next book.
You have to read that book, because
I
I
have
have
to read this
so
book.
much to say about that book to you, and I haven't been able to.
But what about Starless Sea? What about Big Bad Wolf? The issues. Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern is a book I've been trying to read slowly over the past year, and I had to put it down recent. It's just there's so many things to read. The stack is as tall as I am. Has to be. Okay. Also, I need to get back and read the second Talia Hibbert Brown Sister book at some point in the next like month or two before the third book comes out. So, uh, this is the life. First world problems. All right. So if you liked this Adventures in Books, follow Booklandia on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. If you like us, head over to our writer socials, where we'll be doing some live episodes about current literary topics, new book releases, book birthdays, things like that. We can be found at Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford without a dot, and Twitter at skyfordl. You can also head over to our website, lskyford.com. I am Ford.
And I'm Sky.
And that was Booklandia. We hope to hear from you and see you next time. Please leave us a review if you liked this episode. And, find something that makes you get naked.
Bye.
Bye. are out. And runtime was exactly an hour. So there we go.